Welcome to our second Parent University for the semester. I am Miss Rains, I'm the principal. Miss Hernandez and Miss Endicott are both here with us tonight. Let's see. Can you close my door? I'm hearing echoing from across the hall. Thank you. Thanks. Have a good night. Okay, so what we are going to be reviewing tonight is everything you need to know about Title I, and ESSA and what that means. So we do the parent universities to give you guys information. The last time, I believe, Miss Hernandez and Mr. O ran it, and they talked a little bit about school policy and bullying and maybe attendance, things like that. This one is not going to be as much fun as theirs. I apologize in advance. There's going to be a lot of legalese in this one. And this is one that we are required to have, and information we are required to share with our parents. So we are going to attempt to make it as palatable as possible. So, well, there we go. So our agenda for this evening, I did the introductions. This is what we're covering. So ESSA and Title I. You're right to know. We're going to talk a little bit about our 2022-23 achievement and performance as a school, and the parent family engagement plan. Okay. Again, the purpose of the meeting is one, because the government says we have to have it, but also to give you guys all this information and to open up a platform for you guys to have questions. Now, you guys are all muted, that if you do have questions, please. So what is ESSA? ESSA is the Every Child Succeeds Act. It is it's what replaced Nickleby, the No Child Left Behind Act from some years ago. So it replaced that. ESSA aims to provide that's a federal thing, aims to provide each state with more flexibility. It focuses on improving student education. And it does that through an emphasis on student needs, on teacher quality, and on school accountability. And a subcomponent of that is promoting parent involvement and parent engagement. So Title I, Part A is part of it's a subpart of ESSA, of the Every Child Succeeds Act. Title I references the socioeconomic status of a school. So if a school has over a certain percentage of students who are on free or reduced lunch, then that school is categorized as Title I, and that's nationwide, not just St. Lucie County. That is nationwide. One school is considered or categorized as a Title I school. Those schools receive extra money, and that money has to go towards the things that you see on the screen here. So improving academic achievement, and increasing parent involvement and parent communication and engagement. So the Title I process, that's that free and reduced lunch application that we ask you guys to fill out at the beginning of the year. So the extra funds that go towards a school that is a Title I school, that money can be spent on paying teachers for tutoring, as well as a bunch of other resources. So while there may be some negative connotation with it being, oh, it's a Title I school, it's, with a lower socioeconomic status, it's not negative, because the school gets more funds to be able to meet your students' needs. So we have a lot of parents who in the beginning of the year are like, well, I don't want to complete the application, or I'm not going to qualify, or I didn't qualify last year, so why should I bother trying? We have to have a specific number, I think it's over 80%, even apply before they will look at the numbers to see if we meet the threshold to be considered Title I and to receive those funds. So we ask all of our families, even if you know you're not going to qualify, to complete the application, because we have to have so many of the applications completed before they will look at our eligibility determination. So this year the Bethany campus is 64.3% free and reduced. Free and reduced lunch applications. So because we are over the, I think it's 50-something% threshold, we are considered Title I and we are getting those funds, hence us sitting here tonight having this meeting. So the things that money is very specific on what we're allowed to spend it on. So this is the allocation for this year. So it's not a whole lot, 66,000. It's not a lot. It's about, excuse me, I'm sorry. It's about one teacher with a number of years of experience salary, or it is, we're allowed to spend the money on an interventionist. So for students who need it, who need tier 2 or tier 3 intervention, we're allowed to spend the money on that kind of salary. We're allowed to spend the money on before or after school programs, summer school, or tutoring. And so that's for our teachers who are doing that targeted tutoring, the teachers who've reached out to you and said, hey, your student needs a little bit of help with this or that, can they stay after school for tutoring? It pays for those teachers' hours. And then we don't offer summer school here on our site, but our sister campus, Somerset Academy St. Lucie, does. And so we typically send a teacher over there during the summer for our students, but they're just housed out of that building. I think last year, I believe it was Miss Adderley. So we're allowed to pay for that salary as well, and incentives. Staff and professional learning, because again, one of the requirements of ESSA is improving teacher quality. So professional learning for teachers, professional development, making sure they're staying up on, all the latest and greatest. And then to obviously we have to increase our scores. And so things that contribute to helping with that, we're allowed to spend the money on those types of things. The parent and family engagement activities, that's going to be like the data chats that we have 4 times a year. When you guys get that text that says, here, click on this and sign up for your time. It can apply to like the parent teacher conferences. It can apply to when we have parent engagement kind of meetings like a PTO at school, and I have, the aftercare employees stay after to take care of your kids, or we, I think last year we had a couple of these meetings, these types of meetings, the parent universities in person, and we paid for, I think we bought pizza for the littles and paid for the aftercare people to stay and keep them. And I think last year also all the kids got a Dr. Seuss book. So those types of things we're allowed to pay for. The planners or folders that your kids get every year, that comes out of these funds also. So those are just some of the things that we're able to spend these funds on. So the school advisory council is who makes those determinations within what's allowable. So there's the allowable, and then there's X number of dollars. So unfortunately, we can't spend it on everything. So the SAT committee makes that decision. As parents, so there's a parent's rights piece of the ESSA, and that's that you guys have the right to know exactly where your child is performing. And we meet that through those data chats. And for those of you who have not attended a data chat or don't know what it is or are new to us, the data chats, we send out those signups 4 times a year. And it's just a quick, it's not a parent teacher conference. It's quicker than that. It's you come in for 15 minutes, or you do it online because we're doing it via Zoom now, where you come in and the teacher says, your student is performing here. Here's where your student needs to be. Here's how we're going to get them there. Here's how you can help at home, and kind of lays out that plan for you. You have the right to request and receive information about your students' teachers. Typically, we kind of front load that. And then on the school's website where the staff page is, that information should be there as well. So you shouldn't have to request it. But if for some reason it's not available or not on the site, you absolutely can. That is your right. You have the right to be involved and request meetings in addition to those data chats we're talking about, so like the parent-teacher conferences as well. Okay, Ms. Hernandez, I don't know if you want to unmute yourself and jump in on this one, but this is a snapshot of the school's performance for the 22-23 school year. The test in 22-23, you guys will remember, was different than the 21-22 school year. So it's a different test. And once they finally finished messing with the scores, you can see on the top row there is ELA, and it's only for third, fourth, and fifth grade. Our ELA scores surpassed the district ELA scores. And then our math, we did not do so hot in. Our math was under the district, and our science was significantly under. So those are some of the areas that we are going to continue to push in.
Correct. And just to add one more thing, our school letter grade, after everything was factored for third, fourth, and fifth grade, we ended up at a C. So when we did our school improvement plan at the end of every school year, schools do a school improvement plan, especially towards the beginning of the year, you kind of finalize it and tweak it. The areas we focused on in our school improvement plan were going to be the math, just because we did underperform compared to our district, and compared to the state, and we underperformed as well in science. So our fifth grade science is another one we're hitting hard, fourth and fifth grade. Fourth grade isn't tested, but fifth grade does have a lot of fourth grade material in their test. So we made sure to focus on that this year.
For science.
For science, yes.
And those of you who were with us last year, remember we had the split campus. It was a very challenging year for us, being at two different campuses, trying to manage that. We had our grade level split. Our teams were split. Those of you who are new to us, be glad you didn't have to deal with that last year. So we do feel significantly better about this year and some of the changes that we have put in place to address some of these things.
And last year, you don't get credit for your gains because it was a new test. Anything that our students made in gains, which would be they went up a certain amount of points, typically that would count as a point towards the school letter grade as a gain. Last year, because it was a new test, they weren't comparing it to the previous test, and we weren't able to count, some of our students' successes for that. So
and this year we will. So this year, because it'll be the second year in a row, they take this specific test in addition to proficiency, which is all you're seeing on the screen here. In addition to proficiency, you'll have proficiency in each of the subject areas. You'll have proficiency of the lowest 25% of the students, and you'll see gains for each of those content areas as well. So that gives us more components that factor towards the letter grade. So this is a shot. This is from the DOE website, so you guys are able to access this. The far right column tells you how many of the kids we tested. So we always push for 100%. We always have the makeup days. We try to test 100% of our students. Anywhere that you see NA, that is because this only counts for third, fourth, and fifth grade, that each of those categories had less than 10 students who meet the criteria for that category. So for example, if you look at the column, or the row where it says Black African American, and you see 50%, we earned 50%, we tested 100 kids, and that letter grade of a B is there. That means that the students that there were more than 10 students who were Black or African American in grades 3, 4, and 5 that they tested. And that with that subgroup of students, that we actually did very well educating that subgroup of students, if that score for that specific subgroup is a B. If you look right above that where it says Asian and it says NA, that's because between third, fourth, and fifth grade combined, we had less than 10 students who met that subcategory. So they can't grade us on less than 10. If you look down below that, the next one that has impacted us is our Hispanic population. That population, we didn't do quite as well with educating. And then I'll talk to you in a second about the things that we've changed since last year to help address those students. And then you'll see the multiracial and Native Hawaiian, other Pacific Islander, that we did not have at least 10 students across the 3 grade levels. And then white is a B as well. So underneath that, the other two subgroups that are here are the economically disadvantaged, and that's going to be the students who qualified for free or reduced lunch. That's that 60-some% of students. What was it? 64.3% of our students. And then the ELL, that's our English language learners. So those are the two areas that we are the most deficient in. And the things that we're doing to improve those two areas for our ELL students and our non-English speaking or English as a second language speaking population. This year we added a couple of paras. One specifically speaks both Portuguese and Spanish. And we have started doing push-in and facilitation with our English as a second language student population, and that will hopefully help the ELL students a little bit this year. I'm hoping to see a significant increase there. Okay, so that all of that information on the last two slides you can access at the DOE website. It's public, it's all public information. Excuse me. That's all public information that you're able to pull from there. Okay, so that covers the accountability piece. Actually, I want one other thing, and we didn't include, I don't think we included a slide. Ms. Hernandez, I know you've been disaggregating the data that we have from PM1 to PM2 in an effort to kind of predict the future, if you will, for PM3. Can you talk a little bit about what we're seeing under gains in those 3 grade levels with those 3 subjects?
Yes, that's kind of why I pointed out gains. We have increased our gains category from non-existent, obviously, to a huge jump in the numbers. So much so that we're projecting moving out of our C status into a different school letter grade. So if that continues, and I don't want to jinx it. So if that continues, based on the numbers we've crunched, just looking at PM1, then taking PM2, looking how much each student grew, and if they continue to grow the same amount of points by PM3, where that would put us, who would be counted as gains, we are very excited, but a little nervous. So that's all I have for you. I want to, not jinx it, obviously, and I want to make sure we keep pushing. We need to keep pushing, and we're not there yet. So we gotta keep going.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna not let up on the accelerator, but I guess I wanted to point out, I don't want to jinx it by saying, yeah, we're gonna make a B or an A. I don't want to jinx that. I want to clarify when we're looking at the kids' scores from PM1, and then we look at their scores from PM2 to see how much they grew. The average growth between 3rd through 5th grade in those subcategories and in the ELA and the math, not science because science doesn't get gains, but in
Right.
ELA and in math. And it's actually not all 3 grade levels. I'm sorry. It's 4th and 5th grade that count gains because 3rd grade is the first time taking the test, but we still looked at their performance between their PM1 and their PM2. And we had some teachers who had 80, 90, and if I'm not mistaken, at least one teacher who had 100% gains, meaning that 100% of their students went up a significant number. I think it was 6 percentage points, not proficiency, I'm sorry, growth wise. So if every student, if the average student went up 6 points between PM1 and PM2, if the trend continues and every student goes up 6 points between PM2 and PM3, then they have doubled, and we definitely are looking at being in the right spot. So
yeah, and on average we have anywhere between 9% and, let's see, I think my highest was 25% points increased in one test in one sitting. So on average that's very high, which
It's very exciting,
Yeah.
although it's also kind of nerve-wracking because I hate to get our hopes up and then something happened, last on the third test. So, but we've put a lot of changes in place. So, again, those of you who are new to us don't necessarily know this, but parents who've been with us, this is our first year departmentalizing the way that we did. That was one of the things that we did to address some of these deficiencies. We capitalized on teacher strengths. So we have specific teachers teaching, ELA and social studies, and then specific teachers teaching math and science. And that wasn't random. That was, after long conversations with our teachers about where they felt more comfortable. And we looked at, their historical trends with their test scores to see where they seemed to have the most student impact. So that departmentalization thing that we're doing, in addition to lots of teacher development, professional learning, a lot of the way that we grouped this year was different than what we've done in the past. We ability grouped our students. We ensured that our ELL students, our English second language learners, had teachers who spoke, who were bilingual, or multilingual in some cases. So we made a lot of changes as a result of the information that we gathered from this last test. So we're hopeful. So the parent family engagement component of ESSA, the part of it that promotes parent engagement, parent involvement. You guys know that we did the survey last week, I believe. And one of the things that we saw on the survey was parents talking about how it's hard for them to get to the meetings. So having the Zoom option, I think our whole world changed over COVID, and that became an option. And so I think making sure that we're doing that on a regular is that's an option for our parents. There was a lot of comments about some of the activities that we do being, right at 6 o'clock on a weeknight. And that some parents would like to see things maybe closer to 7, or maybe even on the weekends. I will tell you, 7 for us is very difficult because we're here at 6 o'clock in the morning. So when we have events at 7 that don't end till like 9 o'clock, we're looking at extremely long days. And I know you parents are too, because you guys get your kids up and going pretty early too. So we are going to look at having more flexible opportunities for parents to get involved. What part of the engagement piece is communication. I just want to hit on this. One of the things that we discovered when reviewing the responses to the survey was that a lot of parents are on their teachers' reminds. They receive their teachers' text, but they don't receive the school text. So you get a lot of the specific stuff, but you miss a lot of the general stuff. And that was kind of evident as we went through those responses to that survey. So we did put that out there. If you are a parent who knows that somebody else is not getting the school information and only getting the specific teacher information, please, share that information. We do the text blasts, we do the social media, and our Facebook page is public, so that you don't have to, because we have a lot of families who don't want to have a Facebook account. So you don't have to have that to be able to access it. We do put these meetings on that, we do record them, and then we put them on the school's YouTube page. And then I try to remember to share the link on the school's social media and school's website as well. And that's just to make this information more available to our parents who have less flexible schedules. We should be, and it was interesting to learn this week that it wasn't happening across the board. Hopefully I've addressed that at this point. But you should be receiving on Sundays or Mondays blasts from your teachers telling you, so newsletter style blasts from your teachers telling you what they're going to be studying, going over in school each week in their classrooms. If that is not happening for some of the teachers, you guys need to please send me an email and make me aware so I can get that addressed. We've already talked about the the PTC, which is parent teacher conferences, and the data chats. And then the tutoring, we talked about that. The students are invited for tutoring. The teacher, it's supposed to be what we call targeted tutoring. And that means the teachers take a look at the scores and say, okay, these 5 students in this class are struggling with this specific concept. So this week's tutoring session, I'm going to work on this concept. So I'm going to invite these kids. So it's not like open so that everybody can attend at the same time. It's targeted to what the individual students need at any given time, whatever the concept is the teacher's going to be working on, and they specifically invite them. If you feel that your student needs tutoring and your student has not been invited to attend tutoring, reach out directly to your teacher to see if your student is on your teacher's radar, or if there is a reason that maybe your teacher just hasn't gotten to the specific concepts that your student needs or what have you, but you can reach out directly to your teacher to get that information. Our April meeting will have some parent training. I believe that in the January meeting, Ms. Hernandez, I think you went over how to access iReady, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember if you went over how to access Skyward or not, but I know in the next Parent University, we're going to go over the upcoming state standardized tests, the PM3 and the STAR test, and how you as parents can access those platforms and see for yourself how your student's doing and how to read those reports. So that will be coming up in April. Okay, this just kind of outlines how that what I was talking about when I said parents come in for their data chats, and we talk about, this is where your student is, this is where your student's going, and here's how we're going to meet their needs, and here's how you can help at home. So that's that shared responsibility piece. The frequent reports that we need to be providing. My teachers are required to update Skyward on the 1st and 15th of the month. And then I think it's biweekly. You get a message saying, hey, check Skyward because your grades are updated. I believe it's biweekly. And then obviously every 9 weeks we do the actual progress reports, report cards. And then offering the opportunity for parents to get involved and to volunteer around campus. All right. So the parent engagement plan, that was the survey that we sent out. School improvement plans, the school advisory council, the school improvement plan you can access on the website. Nope, that's wrong. On the DOE site, on the Florida Department of Education site, you can access that there. We do have to, as Ms. Hernandez says, we had to put that up at the beginning of the year. And then I think about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, we had to do a mid-year reflection where we had to say, okay, this is what we put in place. Here's where we feel like we are right now, and here's what we're going to do for the remainder of the year. So all of that is available. It is all public information. Okay, so what are we doing to try to close those gaps and help your students? We are, and you may have seen some of the pictures in an effort to make sure that parents know what their teachers are doing and into. A couple weeks ago, I took 13 teachers to Atlanta to a conference. You may have seen since then, there were the pictures on the Facebook page. You may have seen like the Glow Party brain break thing. You may have seen the where they're using the multicolored pens to annotate something that they're reading. I think that I saw one of the teachers using a cubes strategy. You may have seen the pictures of some of the teachers using the yellow or the green sheets in their class where the kids are working out problems. So a lot of the trainings that I'm taking the teachers to and putting them through all that professional learning, they're coming back and implementing those strategies and methodologies. And so that's one of the things that we're doing to address the teacher quality piece of the ESSA requirements. The ensuring there's an understanding of the importance of literacy. You've heard us talk about that literacy push big time the last couple of weeks. I feel like we've always pushed it, but I don't think we've been public about it. And I think that while in the classrooms, we have books and we teach the kids to read, and we ask the kids to have books and make books available to them. I don't think we talk about it. We teach it and we read. We don't talk about it. And so having that conversation and what's called literacy exposure, that piece is something we're really pushing. So I want shout out, should thank you to all the parents who've been coming in and being guest readers and volunteering in the classrooms. We've got on one of the previous slides, I don't know if you saw it or not, but there was an idea for a book swap. So we're going to figure out how to do that. We really like that idea. We have always done our Scholastic Book Fair in the fall or in October. We are going to do a second one this year, and we're going to do it in May, right before the summer, to make sure that kids have books in their hands for the summer. We are there's quite a few things that we are doing and going to continue to push. So any assistance that we can get from parents, any parents or grandparents or aunts or uncles or family friends who would like to come in and volunteer to read to classes, please reach out to your teachers. They have to read to their kids out loud 15 minutes a day now. So that's a new piece too. So that's just some of the stuff that we're doing. Next Parent University is on April 4th. Like I said, we're going to be going over the state standardized test. We are going to talk about how to read the data, how to understand it, and why it's important and what it means to your students. And I thought I had a question screen, but I guess I don't. So now I'm going to go find your all's questions and answer them. Do we have a specific date in April? Yes, the April meeting is April 4th. It will be at 6. It will be available on Zoom. Do we get hours for today's attendance? Also joined the last Zoom, never saw a change. The last Zoom, I'm not sure if you mean the one, the other Parent University or the PTO meeting that was on Zoom. But Miss Diaz or Miss Rios, I believe, handles the volunteer hours. We are able to pull the attendance from this meeting afterwards and submit that. So we absolutely can give volunteer hours for participation in these meetings. So volunteer opportunities, we have, just started with this. Well, welcome. Volunteer opportunities, you can definitely get involved with PTO. They have meetings all the time. Right now they have, they're planning a 4th and 5th grade, I think it's a luau, if I'm not mistaken, for the kids coming up in, I think it's in May. It could be in March. I'm not sure. Maybe there's a PTSO parent who can put that in the chat. But there are lots of volunteer opportunities. Again, reading in the classroom is an opportunity. We have a mom who volunteered all weekend last weekend and started painting our walls and did the monsters, and that was just absolutely phenomenal. I'm sure you guys saw the pictures of those. So there's lots of volunteer opportunities to get involved. And thank you, Amy. Amy is PTO, and she just put the flyer in the chat, so you guys can take a look at that. And then she can also share information about how to get involved with PTO. The dance is this week. Okay, my calendar's off. So there's lots of ways to get involved and to volunteer. If you'd like to volunteer in the classroom or in school during the school day while children are here, you do have to do a volunteer application, and you do have to be level 2 cleared. So if that is something that you're interested in, I would ask you to reach out to Ms. Rosenfeld and ask for a volunteer application. Ms. Hernandez, can we put Ms. Rosenfeld's email in the chat for the new families who would like to reach out for a volunteer application?
Yes, I will drop it in the chat now.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? And Amy, if there's a PTO email address that parents could email about getting, especially since it looks like we have some brand new families, maybe you could drop a PTO email address in the chat for those parents. Thank you very much. Okay, so there's Amy's email is in there for PTO. Ms. Rosenfeld's email is in there for school volunteers for that application and for clearance. Are there any other questions we can answer? I'm gonna give it just a second to make sure. How do we check our volunteer hours? Um, I don't know if Miss Rios or Miss Diaz are on this meeting, and I don't know if they have to email them or if the parents
So,
check themselves.
I can jump in on this one because I've been messaging in Miss Rios on our chat. Miss Rios is now the one entering that information into Skyward. Give her maybe a week just so that she can catch up. It hasn't been entered in a while, so she just got access and has been working on it. And then you can just check it in Skyward and you'll see it under volunteer hours.
Community service hours.
That one.
And that's for the parents, right? And I asked that because I know that at college prep, we have parent volunteer hours and we have student volunteer hours. So just to
Yes,
clarify.
so the one in Skyward for us, for Bethany, is parent volunteer hours.
Okay. All right. Does that zero out of year? Every parent is required 20 hours a year. For the first child, I believe it's 15 for each additional child. I'm not sure I understand the question.
It does not zero out, it's cumulative. It adds yearly.
So if it's
Nobody,
the second year with us, by the end of the year, they should have 40 hours.
correct.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah, that's exactly what she was asking. Thank you, Ms. Endicott, for clarifying.
No problem.
And for those of you who have kids at both campuses, it does carry over. So if you have a student here and a student there, and you do, 40 hours here, that extra 20 does count for your student over there and vice versa. And also, I mean, we're constantly sending out messages for donations. So don't forget that for every $10 worth of a donation, it's an hour of service. I believe that's the correct amount.
Correct. That's
Okay.
correct.
And this time of year, and then when we come back from spring break, really when we come back from spring break, because we'll have all been out and around other people, Lysol wipes, Clorox wipes, and Lysol and tissues and hand sanitizer. That's going to be like the big thing when we come back from break. Any other questions? Yes, yes. So if you are involved, Amy's saying you can ask PTO for hours as well. They're always organizing something. So any hours you give through or to PTO does count as your volunteer hours for the school. So I know that right now they're running short on chaperones for the luau. So if you got a couple hours and want to come to the luau and party with 4th and 5th graders. Any other questions? Okay, we thank you guys for coming out tonight. Thank you, Miss South. She put the sign up genius in there for those of you who'd like to get involved or to see how you can volunteer for PTO. We will be recording this and post it on the school's YouTube page for the parents who are unable to attend. So if you're talking to parents who forgot about tonight's meeting, because I believe the last time we advertised before today was at the last meeting. So we did drop the ball on that, and I apologize. We will try to send out a weekly reminder between now and the next one, just so it stays top of mind for you guys. But again, the recording will be available on the YouTube page, the website, and the school's Facebook page, probably at some point tomorrow. All right. Thank you guys very much for joining us tonight. You guys have a great evening.